There is this moment that I think most of you guys have had at some point, probably without noticing, when you're sitting with your friends or your family or someone you actually care about, and at some point in the conversation, there's just a small pause, maybe 3 seconds, and without even thinking about it, your hand goes in your pocket, you pull out your phone, you look at nothing in particular, and then you put it back. Nobody called you out on it, the conversation just moved on. But something about that moment and that tiny little reflex says a lot more about where we're at than most people want to admit. And I'm not here to lecture you, because I do it too, but I think it's worth actually sitting for a few minutes, because I'm going to tell the truth that no one else will. Phone addiction is one of the biggest invisible problems in our generation, and the thing is that it's not obvious because everyone has it, so it doesn't look like a problem, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. When people talk about phone addiction, they usually go straight to screen time. Oh, you're on your phone 6 hours a day. And yeah, the numbers are kind of insane when you actually check, but I don't really think screen time is the point here. The real cost is the depth. The phone doesn't just take away your time, it takes away your ability to go deep. You slowly lose the ability to actually live in the present, and a day can fly by like that. Think about the last time you were genuinely bored. And I'm not talking about bored for 30 seconds before you grab your phone. I'm talking about when you were actually bored just sitting with nothing. Because that discomfort, that restless feeling when there's nothing stimulating you, that used to be the starting point for something. Maybe a thought you would follow, or a conversation you'd actually have, something you'd build or create or figure out, and those thoughts that would usually lead to something now gets cancelled instantly, and it happens so fast that you don't even notice that you made a choice. Your brain is basically being trained day after day to never sit in discomfort for more than a few seconds. And when your brain can't handle the discomfort, it also can't handle hard work. It can't handle a long conversation that requires real patience, and it can't handle building something slowly over time. Because all of those things ask you to sit with something that isn't immediately rewarding, and you've spent years training yourself out of that ability. But here's the part that I think actually hits the hardest. Because the phone doesn't just affect your work or your focus, it affects how you connect with people. There's this thing that happens when you're with someone and you both have your phones nearby, even if neither of you are actually using them. Studies have shown that just having your phone visible on the table, even when face down and turned off, makes the conversation more shallow. People unconsciously avoid going deep because some part of their brain thinks that the conversation could be interrupted at any second. And I feel like we've all noticed this without naming it. The conversations that actually matter, the ones you remember and the ones that felt real, they happen when the phones aren't in the picture. For example, late at night when everyone's tired and the screens are down, when the power shuts off and you actually start talking to your family. There's a reason those times feel different. And the tragedy is that most people my age are surrounded by more people than any other generation in history. You can reach thousands of people from your bedroom, but the average person has never felt more alone. And I think that those two things are directly connected. You know how you can spend 4 hours on your phone and feel completely empty at the end of it, and you kinda know why, but you pick it up again anyway because empty stimulation still beats the discomfort of doing nothing. If I'm honest, I don't think this should be framed as an addiction, because I think it's a choice. It feels like an automatic choice, but it still is a choice. And every time you pick up the phone out of habit, you're choosing the version of life that is slightly more passive, slightly less actionable. You're opting to watch rather than to do, and to consume rather than to create. You want to receive rather than actually be present with the person sitting across from you, and none of the individual choices feel significant in the moment, but if you zoom out 2 or 3 years, you can actually begin to see the shape of a life being built. And the question is whether the shape of your life is something you actually choose or something that happened to you because you never decided otherwise. Most people don't consciously decide to become someone who can't sit still for 5 minutes without stimulation. It just slowly becomes true, one bad choice at a time. And I'm not going to tell you to delete everything and throw your phone in a lake. That's not realistic, and honestly it's not even the point. The shift is actually way simpler than that. It's just about being intentional with the moments that actually matter. When you're with your friends, leave your phone in your bag, or at least in your pocket, not face down on the table, but actually out of sight. See what the conversation becomes when there's no immediate exit from it. And when you feel the impulse to check, just let the impulse pass, because it always does. And I promise you that what comes after will feel way more real. Give yourself a window in the morning before you open your phone, even just 15 minutes, and just sit with your own thoughts before you let the internet fill you with everybody else's. You will notice how different your day feels when you start it from the inside rather than from the screen. These seem like small things, but the people who feel the most clear-headed, the most present, and the most actually happy, they're not smarter or more disciplined than you, but they just protect those moments. At the end of the day, the phone is just a tool. It's a tool that happens to be designed by some of the smartest people alive to keep you using it as long as possible. And that's not a conspiracy, that's just actually the business model. And knowing that doesn't make it easier to put it down, but at least it makes the choice feel a bit more like yours. Your attention is genuinely the most valuable thing that you have. It's not the amount of money you have or even your time. Where your attention goes is literally where your life goes. And right now, a massive chunk of it is being handed straight over to an app every single day. And I'm not saying that your phone is ruining your life, but it might be making you slightly less than you could be. And slightly less compounded over years is actually a lot. So, I guess it really was that damn phone after all.